Alrighty guys, welcome back to part 2 of the Dodge bodywork. This is part 2 out of, I have no idea how many yet, but so we got a lot of work to do. So I'll keep documenting it and we'll see where we get to. I got this panel taken off before. This was another one that was just riveted on. So I went ahead and actually cut it out so that it'd be the exact size. So, but before I can put this up, I gotta grind this little leftover piece out from where the old panel used to be, and then we'll try and start getting this tacked up. Alright guys, now we're getting to part of the body work, which is going to be a bit of a doozy. So this side shouldn't be too bad, because what we got to do is we only have to go in one direction at any given time. So we have a piece that's going to bend around this way, then we have another piece that's going to bend around this way. While there's a little bit of taper to it one way or another, it's just doing a simple bend won't be too bad. Now I should be able to start kind of in this corner here and work out this way, and then start another way going down this way. It won't be perfect, but it'll be good enough for our application. And we have to go ahead and cut around here as well. 1 second, Genevieve. And then over here is where it's going to get more complicated. So when we start up here, we're just going to be bending in one direction this way. However, down below here is where it gets more complicated, because we're not just bending down, but we're also bending over that way. So we're gonna have to probably put some relief cuts in it to create a little bit of shrinkage as we get towards the bottom. So you can see how it's supposed to curve down and in. So if we were just bending downwards this way, it wouldn't be too bad. If we were just bending over this way, it wouldn't be too bad. But it's when you have to do both at the same time that you really got to make your relief marks so that the metal will be able to shrink. So we're going to start on the other side first, but then we'll come over here. We'll probably do this as one piece going across here, and then we'll do this as a secondary piece. So we'll see how that turns out. All right, guys. So we got this patch panel done. I know that just went through a time lapse. Probably took me about 2 hours. And I'm pretty proud of this one. It's certainly not perfect. You can see in here that the metal didn't line up quite right. And there's some little pitting in here from rust. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. Nothing a little Bondo won't be able to sort out and make a little bit better. But you'll notice, you can still kind of see it in here, I didn't get my gap as tight as I would have liked. In fact, I actually shaved some off because I thought it wasn't lined up right, and then I was wrong about that. So, all that to just say, it really pays off to take your time, take an extra 10 or 15 minutes to get your piece fitted in there, because I probably lost at least 15 or 20 minutes getting this welded in there. And I would have had a much better alignment if I would have taken a little more time, and I would have had those lines a little bit closer. I mean, you can see right here where I did get my lines perfectly aligned. You can't even tell where that weld was. And a little bit in there and down in here. So all that to just say, it's worth it to take your time. It really pays off in your quality of work. But I'm still in the learning phase. I'm pretty happy with the improvement I've had doing this piece, just from even my first passenger panel over here. So we're making progress. We'll keep at it. Hopefully tomorrow we'll try that other side. But like I said, that one's going to be a bit of a doozy. And at the end of the day, Bondo will make it what it ain't. So, alrighty, we'll try this again tomorrow. Alright guys, we're over on the other side now. I'm drawing up my template for what I'm going to cut out. I'm going to try cutting it out again with the tape. I put a second layer of tape on it this time, so hopefully it'll be a little bit more reinforced. So it's going to be a little bit complex since we got a couple of different shapes, and I'm trying to preserve as much of the original metal as I can. But, so this is just going to be an easier piece because we're just going to, again, we're only tapering in one, or twisting in one direction, or bending in one direction. When we get down here is when we're going to have to do a little bit more figuring. But we're going to get this cut out, and then we'll go ahead and get the next section. We'll get this installed, and then we'll start working on this bottom section. Alright guys, we got this piece welded in, so now we can go ahead and start trying to fabricate the piece that goes inside of here. I'm not really sure the best way to do that yet, as I don't think my tape trick is going to work very good, being that it's such a large span, and on top of that it's going to be difficult to get it to match that curve. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of thinking and try and figure out what the best solution is. So I'll come back when I've got it figured out. Alright guys, so I've thought about it for a little while and I couldn't really come up with any good solutions for how to measure and cut this. Probably could have found some videos on YouTube if I had looked, but we're just gonna go ahead and wing it. I ended up deciding to do my tape trick again, and we're just gonna go ahead and see what happens if we just try and put this flat piece in and bend it along the way. I have a feeling we're not gonna be able to get a very good angle just because it doesn't have the reliefs that are necessary to help it to bend properly. But I figured we wouldn't know until we tried. So we're gonna give this a shot, and maybe we get lucky, or maybe we wind up with another job that's just good enough. Or something. Alright, well, we're gonna get welding and see what we can do. Alright guys, well this worked out a little bit better than I expected. It looks like I was able to kind of get the two-fold bend without too much issue. Now granted, this is certainly not a factory remake piece. As you can see, I'm doing this really crappy little just merger of where they replaced this piece over here and they didn't put the same lip down. I'm kind of doing the same thing here. And I'm not sure if after I paint, if I'm going to just try and fill this in so that it all kind of slides together like that and it's not as noticeable. That's what the previous owner had done, at least for the back. And while I criticized it at first, I am starting to lean more towards understanding why he did it that way. So it's pretty late. I think I'm going to call it a night and I'll get this finished welded another time. But at least we have this piece kind of covered. And while, again, it's not going to be the most perfect factory remake, after we get it all ground down and painted, it should be not very noticeable. And again, this is just going to be a family driver. It's not going to SEMA or trying to win first place in any auction or any car shows. It's more about the function over fashion. But it is a pretty cool van, and it'd be nice to make it look as good as we can on a budget and with our limited time. So, alright, we'll be back to welding here again soon. right, guys. So it looked like we got this cleaned up pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how this repair turned out. Got the fender flare cleaned up in here and back along here. You can see I did this one off camera just because it was pretty straightforward. My phone battery was pretty low. And then back here, I got this roughly tacked in right now. Again, my phone battery was dead and I wanted to keep moving, so I didn't worry about getting it on camera. But it's pretty straightforward repair. It's all pretty flat, so I'm going to get this welded up soon and get that ground down and sanded. But I think that's going to conclude the second video in our rust repair. So we have, so I know we got these corners done. Pretty happy about that. Got this welded in and have that cleaned up soon. Got this in down here and this over here. I'll probably clean this up off camera. It's pretty straightforward. And then I think in part 3, I don't know if we'll do this over 3 or 4 or what have you, but we'll try and clean out this wheel well down here. This wheel well is going to definitely give us a little bit of trouble as we get that cleaned up. We have to take care of these 4 corners, although they're little tiny pieces. They really shouldn't take us too much. I got to try and pull this out so I can see just how bad the damage is in here. I'm not sure. That might be something where it's easier just fill it with weld and grind it flat, but we really got to get this window out before we can do that. And we're going to tackle this down here, and we got this wheel well to tackle, which this door doesn't open from this side. I'm not going to bother opening it right now, but that's a pretty good sized mess underneath there, so that's definitely going to get a little complicated. I was also disappointed to discover, I don't know if I can show it, I've got a couple of rust patches like this in here. So I got one here, got another one back here, and I got a much bigger one back here. This is back where the fin was, if you can remember when that was on the van. You can kind of start to see some cracking in here, so we might want to grind that out to see just how bad that is all the way down. But I'm gonna have to get those patches filled, but I probably won't do much of a video on that because that's that should be pretty straightforward to just cut out a little sliver that whole length and get them welded in there. And then from there we have to do a little bit of work at the bottom of the doors, but that's nothing too much. Around where that dash is, that opening was cut way too big for the touchscreen that came with it, so we're going to tighten that up a little bit. We're also going to cut and weld in a hole for where the air handle controls are going to be, or for the AC and heat controls. And then we got to pull these seats out of here, and we have to weld braces going down these walls, because what's going to happen is in here when we do our upholstery, we're probably going to do wood from here down. So I'll have to weld a brace in at the bottom so it's nice and secure, and then weld a brace in the middle wherever our divide's going to be, so that when we plywood and then upholster around this, it catches right. And then it's going to be the same thing going all the way across. So I haven't decided yet. I think I'm going to do that out of box tubing, just something small and something that should grip pretty good. And of course we got to still pull all these windows out, but that's a different video. Another disappointment was when I started taking this off, I realized that there was rust was pretty bad in here. You can see that we've been cracked all the way in here. If you look at it, this outside panel is totally disconnected underneath from the front panel. And this side hasn't gotten quite that bad, although it's still a little rough, but we have to clean this up in here. And then I realized that these bottom hinges don't work because of that. So right now I'm trying to track down just a whole new pair of doors, just because that's going to be a lot to try and get that reconfigured. But that's going to be a matter of seeing if I can actually find a pair available, and getting one at a reasonable price as well, because we're pretty stripped on our budget for this. A couple of things have come up lately that's put us a little bit of a hardship, but we're getting through it, and God's good. So if you're watching this and you have a pair of doors and you're somewhat local or have an affordable way to get doors to us, we're certainly looking for a pair. So anyhow, thank you everybody. I'll see you at the in the next video in part 3. So take care and God bless.